if you're not willing to make a change in your life, then nothing is going to happen. You have to be willing to make a change. I can just speak from my own memory, my own reflection. My experience is that in order for me to make any kind of change in my life, the first step is willingness. It has to pop in my head. For me, I just had to hit rock bottom before I became even open-minded to have the willingness to make a change in my life. And that willingness I'm talking about is to stop drinking and drugging or self-medicating. But it took years of me thinking about it before I took any kind of action. It's like I had to go through all of the shit. I had to dig a big enough hole before I could even be open-minded enough to want to change. Because in my mind, if you don't drink, then there's something wrong with you. And I'm not going to be part of any kind of group because that's just weird. And every time I walked into a church or if I walked into some kind of Christian thing, it always freaked me out because everybody was trying to be so nice to me. It just freaked me out. So I just assumed that that's how it was all over the place, you know. So I was never part of too many groups. But the willingness has to come from inside. Shush. The willingness has to come from inside. And you have to get, I would just speak to, from my point of view, I had to get to a certain point in my life where I just had enough. I was done fighting it. I did everything as I was extreme in everything I've done. And I had to take it to the hilt. I had to do it up. Now I know there's people that get sobered and they go back out again. But for me, at least for this moment, I still remember what my mouth tasted like in the morning, you know, or I still remember the smells. I remember wherever I was at, just so much paraphernalia or just stuff, nastiness around, you know, whether it be empty bottles or empty cans or freaking almost setting the house on fire because I left the freaking stove on, or because, you know, there was just ashes and buds and butts and, you know, just stuff, because you need stuff to smoke. You need, and for drinking, you know, there's just like leftover cans and bottles, and it was just, for me, it was just really gross, you know. I was just sick. So I'm in Panama, you know, and this is a beautiful place. I'm at the beach. Maybe I'll start doing some beach shots, because I like to surf. There's waves here. But it took me a long time to get the courage, the willingness, and I would say to ask for help. Because that's what I did when I walked into AA, basically, was that I hit rock bottom again for the second time. And I was like, okay, I've tried to do everything else. I've tried to quit on my own. That was a joke, you know, because I don't have the discipline to quit on my own. I don't have the discipline even now to freaking, I mean, I exercise. I get up in the morning and I exercise and stuff, but I lack a lot of discipline, you know? So whenever I made a decision to change and I got my first sober chip, I basically was at a meeting and I says, I want to change, you know. And then I became sober for 24 hours. That was the first time I've ever been sober, for like 24 hours intentionally. And it was kind of not easy, because I was like, oh, I didn't have no money, but I wanted to go to the store, I was thinking about that, but I made it through the first 24 hours, and then I kept hitting meetings in the morning and in the evening. And that was really good because, I met all these people that were trying to stay sober, and good people. Man, here we got people from the top all the way to the bottom of the bottom, from the office in the high rise to the bottom of the bridge, I think is what they say, And so it's pretty amazing to meet all these people, and good people, good men and women, And the stories are unbelievable. And I relate so much to all the stories, but everybody that wants to quit anything or any kind of habit, you have to be willing. That would be the first thing. Do you have a willingness to quit drinking or drugging? Do you have a willingness? Ask yourself that. I had to ask myself that. And I was definitely willing. I was willing for a long time, but I didn't do it. Every morning I would get up, I was like, I'm not doing that again. I'm fucking never doing that shit again. I'm never doing that again. Every freaking day for years I said that shit. And then I end up freaking at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or after I get off of work, saying I'm not going to go to the store. And the first place I did go to the store, right? Because I got to get me some beer. I got to get me something to drink. And if I don't have no weed, I got to call my dealer or whatever to come give me weed, or something like that, so I can smoke and drink and be in my own place. And then I'm happy till I get to a certain point, and then I'm like, here I am again, and I'm not happy, There was no happiness. I've done shelf the whole happiness thing with drinking and drugging, I went way past that. So willingness is the first step, I think, kind of, if you want to change. I know I'm just talking for myself here. I might say you or whatever, but I want to share. Here we share experience, strength, and hope, And the strength comes in at least admitting that you're willing. And then that's a strength, man. That's like, yeah, at least I kind of know that I want to stop doing this shit, And that's like a baby step that could lead to potentially not doing it again for the next day, and then maybe the next moment, and the next moment. But it's not fucking easy. But that's a choice you can make to change your whole life. Like, I know for me, I wanted to be a better father. I have a daughter. It was to the point where she's like, Dad, do you want me to get you a beer? She was like fucking 2 years old and shit. I know when I was a kid, my dad, he'd be like, Chad, go get me a fucking beer, or go get me a beer. So I would bring him and his buddies beers. I would open the can for him, serve it to him, put it in the koozie and shit, I was doing that as a kid, taking little sips or whatever. Even though it tasted nasty, I still would take little sips, My parents, they still drink. My brother, my whole family drinks, But I'm not them, I'm Chad. I had to make a decision, I seen what happened, and I knew where it was going, where I fucking hit the wall, But being homeless, living in my truck and shit, But that was a wake-up call again. Not the only wake-up call I've had, but that was a wake-up call. So it had to be, so I made a choice, you know. I was willing to walk into a room of sober people, which I thought were weird. It's like fucking sober people. I don't want to be around sober people, you know. I like to drink. Somebody told me you don't drink, I'd be like, I don't fucking trust you. So I had to change my way of thinking and be open and have a willingness to change. Keep coming back. It works if you work it.